just record that. Okay. Dehi nityam avadyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitam arhasi. O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any creature. Bhagavad Gita 2:30. So we see how Srila Prabhupada, he's very beautifully put this book, because he's taken many, many verses from Bhagavad Gita, and then the way he puts it, it's like kind of a very good foundation to the Bhagavad Gita. So he's beginning with this verse, O descendant of Bharat. Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. He who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any creature. The very first step in self-realization is realizing one's identity as separate from the body. I am not this body, but I'm spirit soul is an essential realization for anyone who wants to transcend death and enter into the spiritual world beyond it. So usually, how do we identify with ourselves? We may think, I'm a woman, I'm Indian, I'm from this family, this is my name. That's the general way each of us identify with ourselves, isn't it? And yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us are way as yet over there to think that, oh, I'm not this body, but I'm a spirit soul. But that's what Krishna wants us to come to this point. And this is just the first step in self-realization. It's not the end. Because many people say that to realize oneself as a soul, aham brahmasmi, that's the end. Liberation means there's end and there's nothing beyond it. But no, in fact, that's the beginning of real life, of true life. So we may scratch our heads and say, what do you mean real life, true life? Am I not living a true life right now? Well, but we are thinking we are the body. So this life is, everything is pertaining to the body. But is that really the eternal truth? We all hear and understand, oh, the body is temporary, we are here for a short time, but are we able to actually understand it? Are we able to actually realize it? So this point is important to realize for anyone who wants to transcend, as Prabhupada is saying, death and enter into the spiritual world beyond it. There is a spiritual world. There is a spiritual reality. Because we are spirit souls. So where does the spirit soul stay? Where does the spirit soul live in eternally? Anyone? Can anyone guess?
With God? Do we stay with God?
Yes, that's right. Thank you.
We are part and parcel of Krishna.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And where does Krishna stay?
Within us.
Personally, where does he stay?
Yes, within us.
In our
He
heart.
is within us. Yes, that's right. He's in our heart as the Paramatma. Very true. Within us, very true. That's his Paramatma feature. But Krishna is a person too. And he has an address. As we have our house addresses, Krishna also has his house address. And where is that?
Golok.
It's in the spiritual world. Yeah? It's in the spiritual world. In Goloka Vrindavan, specifically. As we continue reading, we'll come across it. So it is not simply a matter of saying, I'm not this body, but of actually realizing it. Because when we want to speak philosophy, a lot of us speak philosophy. Oh, get over it. You're not the body. Why are you thinking about it? You're not the body. But are we actually able to understand it? Are we able to realize this fact? This is not as simple as it may seem at first. Oh, really? because we have been here in the material world for a very, very long time. And we do identify ourselves with the body, with our false ego. So although we are not these bodies, but a pure consciousness, somehow or other we have become encased within the bodily dress. If we actually want the happiness and independence that transcend death, we have to establish ourselves and remain in our constitutional position as pure consciousness. So Prabhupada, from the very beginning, he's telling us, hey, you have to come to the point of self-realization to be able to be eternally happy, because that's the platform of the soul. That's our constitutional position. We spirit souls, we have a spiritual identity. Living in the bodily conception, our idea of happiness is like that of a man in delirium. Some philosophers claim that this delirious condition of bodily identification should be cured by abstaining from all action. Because these material activities have been a source of distress for us, they claim that we should actually stop these activities. The culmination of perfection is in a kind of Buddhistic nirvana in which no activities are performed. So, many people have this kind of philosophy, oh, it's the material activity which is causing me distress, because I'm doing some activity, I'm doing some karma, so I'm getting some reaction from it. So let me stop acting. And if I don't act, then I will not have any distress. I'll be okay then. But is that actually practical? Is it practical? How long can we sit down not doing anything? Not speaking, not eating, not going anywhere, just sitting in one place. How long? So Buddha maintained that due to a combination of material elements, this body has come into existence. And that somehow or other, if these material elements are separated or dismantled, the cause of suffering is removed. So Buddhistic philosophy is actually covered atheism. Although Lord Buddha, he's an incarnation of Krishna, but he came at a specific time for a specific purpose. His purpose was to stop the unnecessary animal killing which was happening at that time, even by the Brahmanas, in the name of the Vedas. And that's the reason Lord Buddha spoke of this atheistic philosophy. And what is he saying? That, oh, it's just, you stop acting, somehow this material body is going to be dismantled, and then there is no suffering at all. But Lord Buddha, he never spoke about the soul. He never spoke about God. If we actually try to read his teachings, because he's Krishna himself after all. So he's not going to give any false philosophy, but it was a need for society at that time to stop the unnecessary slaughter of animals. If the tax collectors give us too much difficulty because we happen to possess a large house, one simple solution is to destroy the house. However, the Bhagavad Gita indicates that this material body is not all in all. Beyond this combination of material elements, there is spirit, and the symptom of that spirit is consciousness. So because the Buddhistic philosophy is nirvana, that, okay, after you give up this body, then you attain nirvana and there is nothing there. Nothing. It's like zero. But is that the fact? Are we actually zero? Sure, this body we have to give up at some point of time, but we are eternal souls. We are the pure consciousness. We are not this material body. Although we are identifying ourselves as this body, our reality is, after all, that we are spirit souls. And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that we give up one body to take up another body, and that the soul is eternal. Krishna, in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he gives so much detailed information about the soul. It's eternal, is never born, never dies, because that's the meaning of eternal. There's no end to it. So we may think, oh, after I do certain practice, I'm going to get liberated and then I'm not going to exist anymore. It's not going to happen. It's not the truth, because the truth is we are eternal. So we will continue to live on. So what do we do? Where have we come from? Where are we going? We may have these questions. And then these questions are answered in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna very, very clearly, he explains all this knowledge to us in the Bhagavad Gita. So reading on, until now, are there any questions or comments till what we have read? Anyone?
No, everything fine, good.
Yeah, so we continue reading. Consciousness cannot be denied. A body without consciousness is a dead body. What's the difference from a living body and a dead body? What's the difference? I'm sorry?
Consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, consciousness is missing.
Right? Because many people say, I'm sorry.
I said the soul is missing in the dead body.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that's the difference, because many people don't even know what's the difference between a living body and a dead body. So yes, that's the point, the soul. So as soon as consciousness is removed from the body, the mouth will not speak, the eye will not see, nor the ears hear. A child can understand that. It's a fact that consciousness is absolutely necessary for the animation of the body. So, this goes to say that we are actually thinking we are the body, but at one time we have to get out of this body. We are going to leave it. So then are we the body or are we the soul?
We are a
The
soul.
soul.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we are not able to realize that. Theoretically we may be knowing it, but we are not able to realize this fact. So it is a fact that consciousness is absolutely necessary for the animation of the body. What is this consciousness? Just as heat or smoke are symptoms of fire, so consciousness is the symptom of the soul. The soul, it has a symptom. It has consciousness. What's the difference between, there is a building that is standing and a man that is standing. The building is also made of earth, water, air, fire. The man's body is also made of earth, water, air, fire. What's the difference?
The man has consciousness.
Thank you. Yeah. The energy of the soul or self is produced in the shape of consciousness. Indeed, consciousness proves that the soul is present. This is not only the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, but the conclusion of all Vedic literature. The impersonal followers of Shankaracharya, as well as the Vaishnavas, following in the disciplic succession from Lord Sri Krishna, acknowledge the factual existence of the soul, but the Buddhist philosophers do not. So Shankaracharya, although he propounded the impersonalist theory, the Mayavad theory, but yet he brought back the belief that yes, there is spirit, not that there is nothing. Lord Buddha, he came to teach there's nothing because people were misusing the Vedas. And then Lord Shiva, he came as Shankaracharya to give this impersonalist theory that no, it's not that all is zero, but yes, everything is one, that there is a spirit. And then Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago to say, hey, it's not that it's all one. No, there's two. There is the part and parcel, and then there is the Supreme Spirit. So the Buddhists contend that at a certain stage, the combination of matter produces consciousness. But this argument is refuted by the fact that although we may have all the constituents of matter at our disposal, we cannot produce consciousness from them. So someone may argue, life comes from matter. Sometimes we hear such kind of theories and philosophy. Life comes from matter, or it's just simply a combination of certain chemicals. Is that possible? We can put all the chemicals together, but is that going to create a living entity?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
No, yes, thank you. Yeah, it's not possible because, we do have access to all these chemicals. All the chemicals which are present in the body, we do have them. But no scientist can combine all these chemicals and say, oh, I created a living entity. Why is that?
Because you cannot control the soul.
We cannot create a soul. That's right. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. We can't create even a tiny seed in the laboratory. Although we can make so many spaceships and rockets, even a tiny seed we cannot produce in a lab. So all the material elements may be present in a dead man, but we cannot revive that man to a consciousness. This body is not like a machine. When a part of a machine breaks down, it can be replaced and the machine will work again. But when the body breaks down and consciousness leaves the body, there is no possibility of our replacing the broken part and rejuvenating the consciousness. The soul is different from the body, and as long as the soul is there, the body is animate. But there is no possibility of making the body animate in the absence of the soul. So once the soul has left the body, no matter how much we want it, we cannot bring the body back to life because it's the soul that is the important. This body is just made of this material elements. Because we cannot perceive the soul by our gross senses, we deny it. That's what many people say, that how do you know there's a soul? So do whatever you want. There is no next life. Enjoy how much ever you want, do whatever you want. Who has seen what's happening in the next life? But we say that because we just want to close our eyes. We don't want to hear from the scriptures that are telling us what is there in the next life. Actually, there are so many things that are there which we cannot see. We cannot see air, radio waves, or sound, nor can we perceive minute bacteria with our blunt senses. But this does not mean that they are not there. It's true. Like even the scientists, they say that there are so many microbes flying around in the sky. There's so many bacteria, but we can't see it. We are not able to see it. Only if we put a microscope, we'll be able to see. So does it mean that they don't exist? Sure, they do exist. The authorities know it. Or sound. Prabhupada is putting an example here, sound. We can't see sound. But does it mean because we can't see sound, sound does not exist? Can we say that?
No.
Yeah, thank you. So by the aid of the microscope and other instruments, many things can be perceived which had previously been denied by the imperfect senses. Just because the soul, which is atomic in size, has not been perceived yet by senses or instruments, we should not conclude that it is not there. It can, however, be perceived by its symptoms and effects. So this is a way that, when somebody is saying that the soul does not exist, we can explain to them how we can see that the soul is there. There's so many things that we can't see. Doesn't mean they don't exist. And the most important is that the scriptures tell us it exists, the authorities tell us it exists. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna points out that all of our miseries are due to false identification with the body. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada atma payino anityas tam stitikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of heat and cold, happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Gita 2.14. So Krishna says this, very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 itself, in text 14. He's saying, O son of Kunti, he's addressing to Arjuna, that, heat and cold, sometimes it's hot and sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's winter, sometimes it's summer. Well, in Panama, it's mostly like one weather. But if we go to, say, the more colder countries where really there is a difference, there will be a difference between summer and winter seasons. But then it's non-permanent. Why? Because it's summer, then after summer, winter comes, then again summer comes. So that's why Krishna says non-permanent. And he says the same is for happiness and distress. Because sometimes there is happiness, but that's temporary. And then sometimes there's distress, but then that's temporary too. And why does all this arise? Why is it sometimes we are happy and sometimes we are under distress? He says it's arising from sense perception. It's arising from sense perception or sign of Bharat, Krishna says, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So happiness will come, distress will come, but Krishna is saying, tolerate it. Why is he saying tolerate it? Because he's saying that you're not the body, you're inside the body. That's the reason he's saying tolerate it. Now, how easy is it or how difficult it is to tolerate? Not easy. Not easy. Sure, happiness. Why should I tolerate happiness? I'm happy. What is there to tolerate happiness, one may think? Why is Krishna saying tolerate happiness? Now, because we also have to understand sometimes we may get carried away, forgetting that, hey, this happiness is coming, is there, but it's temporary and soon there will be distress too. So what? That means I have to look at a depressed way of life? No, what Krishna is saying, just accept everything that comes as his will. The happiness, the distress, let it come as his will, understanding Krishna as my best friend, depending on Krishna. When we read the Bhagavad Gita, we will read this more in detail, where we depend on Krishna and accept Krishna's will. As we say, there is not a blade of grass which moves without the will of the Lord. But then we get so involved in our happiness and distress that we forget that we are the spirit soul. Let me try to understand who am I truly. That's why Krishna is saying tolerate. Because we get so occupied with our happiness or distress that we completely disregard our real self-interest, which is to understand, oh, I'm an eternal soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the summertime, we may feel pleasure from contact with water, but in the winter, we may shun that very water because it is too cold. In either case, the water is the same, but we perceive it as pleasant or painful due to its contact with the body. So Prabhupada is giving this example. It's the same water, but in winter, because, okay, leaving aside that we have heating in the house, okay, if it's cold water going into the river, for example, cold water in summer, very pleasant. You want to go for a swim, very nice. But in winter, oh, who wants to go? It's too cold, but it's the same water. So why are we perceiving the difference? Because of the body, right? Contact with the body. All feelings of distress and happiness are due to the body. Under certain conditions, the body and mind feel happiness and distress. Factually, we are hankering after happiness, for the soul's constitutional position is that of happiness. So someone may say, oh, is it that I should not be happy, that I should always be distressed? No. Our real position is anandamaya bhyasyat. That's the position of the soul. The soul, why are we pleasure seeking? Because the soul is always happy. Satchidananda. The soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Being, who is Satchidananda Vigraha, the embodiment of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. So Krishna, he is Satchidananda Vigraha, knowledge, bliss, and eternity. And we, the soul, are part and parcel of Krishna. So we are also Satchidananda. Krishna is Satchidananda, we are Satchidananda. Indeed, the very name Krishna, which is non-sectarian, means the greatest pleasure. So we are pleasure seeking. It's not bad for us to seek pleasure. It's just right now we are not able to understand where we should be searching, where should we be looking for the pleasure. Because it's a need of the soul. The soul is always happy. So as we just read, the very name Krishna suggests highest pleasure, means greatest pleasure. Krish means greatest and Na means pleasure. Krishna is the epitome of pleasure, and being part and parcel of him, we hanker for pleasure. A drop of ocean water has all the properties of the ocean itself, and we, although minute particles of the Supreme Whole, have the same energetic properties as the Supreme. So we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is Satchidananda. So we are also tiny drops, tiny parts of Krishna. Prabhupada is giving the example. A drop of ocean water is also salty. We don't have to drink up the whole ocean to understand that the ocean is salty. Just one drop will do. One drop of ocean water has the same composition as the entire ocean, but the quantity is completely different. Can we compare the size of one drop of water to the entire ocean?
No.
Well, can we compare the composition, the taste of it?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So that's the same. We are part and parcel of Krishna. So we have Krishna's qualities, we have Krishna's properties, but we are minute. So we have those qualities, those properties in minute quantity, whereas Krishna is the Supreme Whole. So he has them unlimitedly. And that's the reason Prabhupada gives us this example to help us understand better. So are there any questions or comments till now what we have read?
Yeah. What does the word non-sectarian refer to?
Non-sectarian. It's not that Krishna is only, he is the Father, he's the Supreme Lord of certain people or certain community or certain planet or, no. Krishna, he's the great, he's everyone's. It's not that he's the maintainer of only human beings, say, and not of the animals or plants. He's the Supreme Father of everyone. Everything, everyone belongs to Krishna.
Basically, he transcends borders and religions and all that.
Yeah. Yes. Because each and every one has an eternal relationship with Krishna, whether we know it or we don't know it. It does not change the fact that everything and everyone belongs to Krishna. We may accept it, we may not accept it. We may believe in it, we may not believe in it. But that has nothing to do with the truth. The fact is the fact that everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So thank you so much. If there are no other questions, let's stop here for today then. Thank you for joining.